Welcome to the PR Maven podcast, a podcast all about growing your network and building your brand through traditional and digital networking techniques. I'm Nancy Marshall, the PR Maven and CEO of Marshall Communications. I've been strengthening brands through PR for over 35 years, and now I'm celebrating the success of executives, influencers, business owners, and entrepreneurs from all around the world, all of whom have cultivated their brands and broadened their networks through traditional and digital networking methods. Each week, I interview one of these interesting and influential individuals and provide an opportunity for you, the PR Maven Nation, to gain insights from their strategies and stories. So stay tuned for this week's episode, and thanks for listening. Katie, there has been a silver lining to the pandemic for Maine's economy, right? You've seen a lot of people move to Maine to work remotely. What kinds of resources exist for them, and what does this influx mean for the state?
Yes, there has never been a better time to be in the talent attraction business. We are seeing people move to the state left and right from all across the U.S. And we received some information from Zillow that confirmed that as well. People from New Jersey, New York, Boston, Nashville, from all over are really looking to move to Maine. So that's exciting. And we have a bunch of co-working spaces from Rockland to Bethel, Lewis. We made a map on our website to really show people hey, if you're working from home, but you want to build community in other ways, that there are co-working spaces all across the state. And we also have seen lots of events pop up, I would say networking events. As you know, Maine is very event-centric, from the chambers to Maine Biz to Startup Maine. It's a great way to plug into the community and get to know people virtually.
Yeah, actually, it's so funny that you say that Maine is event-centric, because my life pre-pandemic was just loaded with events. I went to events all the time, sometimes like coffee events in the morning, and then sometimes like lunch, and then sometimes like après work and evening. And so that has been a huge change for me personally, is not going to all those events. Of course, now it seems like all the events are on Zoom. So some days I get total Zoom overload.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that we'll all want to return to those kinds of those networking events that aren't virtual, that are actually in person. And I would say, for anyone listening who's worried about the type of networking and professional events that might be going on in Maine, that there is no shortage of them. So it's a great community to be part of.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the day that we're going to be able to just see each other again in person. So, Katie, how do you engage with employers across the state, and what do those partnerships look like?
Yes. So Live and Work in Maine, we're a 501c nonprofit, and our mission is on talent attraction and retention. And we are not a placement or recruiting firm, but instead really see ourselves as a marketing, communications, storytelling arm. And we get our funding from both, the majority of our funding comes from employers, but also from the state, specifically the Department of Economic and Community Development and other partners like Focus Maine. But when I look at how we engage with partners across the state, it can look a few different ways. So one, any employer in the state can make a employer profile, and that's just a way to showcase for free, to showcase the culture, any success stories, videos, to just really highlight who they are as an employer. And then we have a job board, and so it's very self-serve. So any employer, big or small, across the state can upload jobs. And then we have these more robust partnerships with employers across the state, from Bath Iron Works to Maine Health, WEX, MEMIC, ProSearch, Bangor Savings Bank, Dead River. So we have about 13 what we call employer partners, and they fund our organization, and they do that for a variety of different ways. Some do it because, for example, Maine Health, they see our website, our job board, our highlighting of them and their jobs has the highest conversion rate for them. So they really see us as a partner and helping get talent to them. But then we have other partners that really like what we do from a mission standpoint. So they might give us some funding from a corporate social responsibility or marketing arm because they really believe in the work that we're doing. So just to give some examples, right now, Bath Iron Works actually has 2,700 jobs open, and they need to hire 2,700 people this year. And so we're helping them think through some broader scale marketing campaigns to really tell the story, not only about Bath Iron Works, but about Maine as a place to live and grow your career, raise your family. And then we have a partnership with the Rue Institute of Northeastern. They not only need to attract students to go into their programs and graduate programs, but they have to attract faculty and administrators. So we're helping them grow their name, grow their brand, think through some strategic partnerships as well.
Sounds like you have a lot of different things going on. It must be hard every day to figure out where to focus your time.
Oh, it's such a struggle. I feel like I wear so many hats and I'm kind of the jack of all trades, but we really see ourselves as a connector and a convener. I mean, this morning I could have been having a conversation with a chamber of commerce in Cape Elizabeth, a town manager in Skowhegan, a plumbers association that's trying to grow their trades apprenticeships. And so it's a really fun place to be. It's a great vantage point to know that there's so much energy around trying to get talent in the state to stay in the state, because we're all fighting this battle. So it's great to be able to work together on this initiative.
Well, that leads to the next question, is that we need evidently 70,000 people to enter the Maine workforce in the next 10 years. And how exactly are we going to do that?
Yes, it's a great question. And it's one that the state and the Economic Recovery Committee have put forward as this goal. And I think, the thing is, it's not like it's 1 million people. It's 70,000. I know it's a big number, but it's doable. And so some of it is, yes, we need new people to move to the state to work in these industries, work in these jobs. And some of it is really retraining. There's a whole population that's actually not in the workforce, but is in the state, or maybe they've opted out of the workforce. So we need to get creative with retraining and how to get individuals back in. I think of working parents, specifically moms. And when you think about the pandemic, women have bared the brunt of this pandemic. And how can we help get them back into the workforce? And it could be really creative solutions, like maybe full-time jobs aren't the answer. Maybe it's job sharing. Maybe it's having just a bit more flexibility of could an employer that has an open role, could that job be filled by 2 people versus 1 and they job share, or is it just part-time? I think we just need to get a little bit more flexible, but definitely retraining is a big piece of it. So there are definitely groups working on that from workforce.
Well, what you're talking about just makes me think about how if you had said to us a year ago that everybody's going to work from home for an entire year or possibly more, I don't think I could have imagined that. But, March 15th, I think, was the day when at my business, we said, okay, I guess everybody's got to work from home because we didn't want to be in the same space due to the pandemic. And it's just amazing how we changed on a dime as a society. And if you had told me that this was going to happen, I would have never believed it.
I know. And I think a lot of companies did a great job pivoting, and there are definitely some that are going to continue to stay remote. I know people have let go of their leases, so they won't have to have that cost. But there's other companies that are starting up or that want to have more of an in-person presence. I talked to this. It's not really a startup, but it's a company that's based in Boston, and they have another office in Newport, Rhode Island, and they're growing their main office. And they only have about 3 or 4 people here, but they want to eventually have a main presence. And so it's sort of just this cycle. This group might want to eventually have an office space downtown. So I think even though a lot of businesses are working remotely, there will be people that want to get back together in person again. We did a whole we did a survey on remote working, and there's a huge remote worker population already in Maine, and people that have moved here over the last year to work remotely. But we've also heard that people want to have this camaraderie with their colleagues. So I think we'll see it turn back around eventually.
Yeah, I hope so, because I'm a social person, so I like to be with other people.
Same.
Somehow, Zoom. Well, actually, Zoom isn't so bad. I mean, we've really figured out how to do a lot with Zoom, and, there's like breakout rooms you can have and all kinds of ways to interface. I've done quite a few speaking engagements actually on Zoom, and some speaking engagements I probably would not have been able to do previously. I did one for a group called Women in Technology, and that was a group of women from all across the country, and it was really a great opportunity. And I'm not sure it would have happened in the olden days.
I hear you.
So what kind of events and marketing campaigns do you sponsor at Live and Work in Maine?
So we usually don't go at anything alone. We really try to partner where we can. So we have ads at the Jetport, for example, where we feature some great images and kind of that call to action about living and working in Maine. Pre-pandemic times, we had a great partnership with the Jetport where we said, hey, can we come in and kind of do a little marketing takeover? And they said, sure. We actually know the busiest days of the year. So, because they have all the data around the flights coming in and out. And so we set up shop one day and did a big marketing blitz and brought in t-shirts and stickers and all that to every vendor that was at the Jetport, and we invited Angus King and the media. So we like to experiment with those kinds of events, and we have also partnered in the past. We have ads in Visit Maine's, the tourism articles and publications, and we can talk more about some of our other programs that we do, like the Imagine Me and You event. But we really, anytime that we can reach people and really tell the story about, hey, Maine is a great place where you can grow your career, we just really need to make sure that we're telling that story. It's not just a vacation land. We kind of got to get rid of that.
Yeah, right. Well, it's funny you mentioned Senator Angus King, because when he was governor, my agency was working with DECD, which is the Department of Economic and Community Development. And we did something called Picnic in the Park. It was on Boston Common. And we had a big event for all of the recent college graduates from Maine colleges and universities who are living in Boston. And we brought a Maine humorist. I think it was Gary Crocker, and Angus King, who just loves doing promotional events like that. And we had all kinds of delicious Maine foods, and we brought chefs, and we set up this big tent on Boston Common and had a big party. And I remember organizing that. It was probably in the early 2000s.
And funny.
Yeah. And I mean, again, Angus King is really great for, he's always up for something creative and fun for PR and marketing.
Yes, absolutely. He's always down. He's been a great partner. And that reminds me, we partnered, Live Work Maine partnered with Startup Maine a few years ago, where we, kind of similar to what you just said, we tried to market our event that was hosted in Boston to people that had an affinity for Maine. So maybe they grew up here, maybe they went to college in Maine, but now lived in Boston. Maybe they went to camp in Maine, but now lived in the Boston area. That's a typical ideal candidate that could be a potential boomerang. And so we brought hiring managers and startups and just up and coming industries down to Boston and invited people to hear about what we had going on up in Maine, from aquaculture to like I said, the tech startups, really just to paint a picture of Maine as a great place for your career. So it was a great collaboration. So like I said, we tend to just try to partner on those sort of things.
Well, you just mentioned something, Katie, boomerang. Why don't you, for those who don't know what a boomeranger is, why don't you explain that?
So our definition is anyone that has an affinity or some type of emotional connection to Maine and has for some reason left the state, but we want them to come back. And so, like, I'm a boomerang. I grew up here, Western Maine, left the state for DC for many years, and then moved back to Maine. So I'm a boomerang. So you could have gone to high school here, college here, summered here, had family here, went to camp here, and you've left, but we want you back.
Yeah, exactly. And I know exactly what you're talking about. Having worked with Maine tourism and Maine economic development for so many years, you meet people in other parts of the country and the world. And when you mention the word Maine, their eyes light up and they have these wonderful memories, whether it's summer camp or college or visiting grandma on the beach or whatever. So Maine definitely has a strong brand, and it's really great to be able to leverage that. So Katie, tell me about your small but mighty team at Live Work Maine.
Yes. So it is run by our amazing executive director, Nate Wilds. He and I are the two full-time individuals. And I would say we are a very agile, creative, dedicated, and partnership-oriented team. And Nate and I divide and conquer, and we have a lot of fun. But we also have a part-time PR person, Angie Helton of New England Media Associates. We have somebody to help with website, a videographer, Nate Bowman of Bowman Productions. So we, as we have projects or as we think about our plans for growth down the line, we're very fortunate to work with some contractors, and we have support from our advisory board as well. We have individuals I would say both employers and people like from Junior Achievement and a representative from Educate Maine and Thomas College. We have all these great folks that sit on our advisory board to give us ideas and support. And I'd be remiss not to mention, Ed McKersey of ProSearch, who is the founder of Live and Work in Maine. And he is just he's not in the day-to-day operations, but he's a great support for us as well.
Yes, I have spoken with Ed, and I know how passionate he is about the organization. So you're really lucky to have him and other talented executives from around the state who really get what you're doing and are supportive. So we're going to continue our conversation with Katie Shorey shortly, but first I want to talk about my new book, which is called Grow Your Audience, Grow Your Brand, available now on Amazon.com as paperback, Kindle, or Audible edition. And the book includes actionable advice on growing a network and growing a personal brand, essentially by taking care of your audience. And we'll be giving away a free Kindle version. If you go to prmaven.com/giveaway, you can sign up to receive a copy of the book. So we'll be back in just a moment with more from Katie Shorey, who's Director of Engagement at Live Work in Maine.
Do you want to grow your client or customer base? Perhaps increase brand awareness? Maybe tell your unique story more effectively? Of course you do. But you may be worried that you don't have enough expertise to make that happen. Well, no worries, PR Maven Nation. Let the PR Maven herself, Nancy Marshall, show you how easy it is to get your message across effectively using a powerful yet simple tool, a message map. Nancy's training is often called informative and constructive, well-designed and impactful, with a perfect blend of theory and real-life experience. You will leverage Nancy's expertise to create your own message map when you register for this comprehensive online video training course, which is broken down into 4 easy-to-understand modules. Normally, this course is priced at $147, but for listeners of the PR Maven podcast, that's you, PR Maven Nation, it's only $29 when you enter the code word podcast during enrollment. It even includes a workbook and bonus content to guide you through the process. So go to prmaven.com and click on the Message Map Mastery course to enroll today. Remember, enter the word podcast during enrollment for a special discounted price of $29.
Welcome back. And today we're talking with Katie Shorey, Director of Engagement at Live Work in Maine. And I'm going to dive right back in with more questions for Katie. Katie, talk about the internships with Educate Maine.
This is actually perfect timing because they just rebranded and it went live today. So it is the program that Educate Maine runs that is funded by Focus Maine. It used to be called the Focus Maine Internship Experience, but now it's called Maine Career Compass. And I'm so excited about their rebrand, relaunch. It's mainecareercompass.org. So after 4 years, the name had to be changed to recognize the scope of the participants and the employers that we work with. And so they support students that are navigating their careers, and also how students, finding ways that students can explore Maine employers and what it's like to live and work in Maine. So that name now really encompasses not only just internships, but apprenticeships, co-ops. And so Educate Maine runs that program. Any student and company can participate for free. So say you're a company that has your own internal internship experience. Like I know WEX has one. I know different accounting firms have large internship cohorts. But they also opt their students into this other program that happens over the summer. So it's a way for students not only to build their professional networks, but they also can hear from other employers across the state to really get a picture about what's out there and what's happening, and hear from leaders across Maine. So it's a very comprehensive program on top of the work that they're doing at their respective companies, but it's also a great social and professional development program as well.
I think that's great, because I think there might be really talented young people from around the state who just really have no idea what's possible in a career. And if you don't really have an idea of what's possible, then you can't really aspire to something. And it takes some mentorship or guidance or inspiration from somebody who can talk about, what's possible in a career. And I really feel that, I feel I'm lucky that I discovered from an early age what I wanted to do. And I've been doing it for a long time now. And it's really thanks to my father. My father actually offered me an opportunity to do some PR when I was actually still a teenager. But I think if people don't have that kind of a guiding hand from either a teacher or a parent or a relative, it's really great to have something like this kind of a professional network you're talking about with the maincareercompass.org. So I'll check that out.
And that's exactly right. You can't be what you can't see. So Educate Maine, they do the program, they run the program, but we help market it and promote it. We find speakers and topics. I mean, I had a company that only had one intern that was working for them all summer. This one lowly intern, but then they opted him into now it's called the Maine Career Compass program. And he met, hundreds of other students that were here and got to hear from people speaking in different industries. So it really helped him realize, I can have a community and a network and a career growth journey here in Maine. So I suggest any employer to look into that, or any student to really, I would say, ask to be put in that program as well, because it is free.
Oh, that's great. I will definitely check that out. So what do you do with Boots to Roots?
Yes. So for those who don't know, Boots to Roots is another nonprofit here in Maine, and they work specifically with transitioning military folks, because as you may or may not know, military personnel, they know when they're getting out of the service. And so they, about a year in advance, so they might start looking for a new opportunity. They might be trying to figure out what they want to do as a next step. And the government will pay for them and their family to move. They will help with those move costs. So we think that there's a great case to be made for having them come to Maine. And we have a lot of employers that are very veteran friendly. I think of Tilson and Dead River and Bath Iron Works and WEX. We have all of these employers that really know how to look at a veteran or a military person's resume and kind of know, okay, how do we reframe what they've done while serving, and really try to adapt that to, I would say, more civilian life. So the Boots to Roots team has the contacts. They speak the language, and so we can help with the PR, the messaging. I mean, just a few years ago, Maine finally became a state that no longer taxes military pensions. So that's a huge selling point and something that should be kind of bragged about. So we are, for example, we have an event coming up with Boots to Roots in a few weeks. We are going to be participating in a virtual career fair with Fort Drum. Fort Drum has about 250 folks every month that are transitioning out of service, and about a third of them might stay in that area, but a third, we've heard, are looking for the next opportunity. So we're trying to really make the case for Maine. So we are kind of adding that Maine element, talking about quality of life, highlighting other employers that might be of interest to these folks who are considering a move to Maine. So that's just an example of how we partner with them.
Oh, that sounds awesome. And I think it is worthwhile to promote that Maine no longer taxes military pensions. I did not know that. I have twin cousins. They're my age, and they both went into the Air Force right after high school. And yeah, they have these nice pensions now. And I'm still self-employed and still working, but they're nicely retired and enjoying life. I think one of them is skiing at Beaver Creek this week. It's like, what did I do wrong? I went to college and started a company. Oh my gosh. Oh, well, as I said, I'm grateful I found something that I like to do.
Yes.
So tell us about your Imagine Me and You event series.
Yes. So this was a series that we launched in 2019. So typically before people move to Maine, they come for a visit. And so we have said, hey, let us know ahead of time, like when you're coming to Maine, and we want to have an event focused on you. So essentially what we did was we asked people to sign up ahead of time, like we would have weekends scheduled across the state, and we had hoped to do them a ton last year in 2020, but COVID, but we hope to do them again another time. But essentially have people ask us the questions ahead of time. So do you have questions about housing and community? Do you want to know what the nonprofit sector's like here? Do you have questions about schools? And then we would also invite recently relocated people. So maybe folks who had moved from the area where these people were coming from, because as you can imagine, they're the best salespeople for saying, hey, I was in your shoes a year or so ago. I lived in New York City, but I moved to Maine and haven't looked back. So those are the best salespeople. And we would really curate who was in the room and essentially have this welcome committee there to meet and greet people that were visiting and thinking about a move to Maine. We'd have employer and recruiters in the room. And these events are very scalable. Towns and local groups could absolutely host these kinds of events across the state and do the legwork, but we can help promote them. But it's really just a very customized, curated networking event for people that want to visit Maine before they move here. And we found that when people attended our event, it helped accelerate their move to Maine. And so we saw some great success.
Oh, well, totally. I mean, I can see how if I'm moving to Maine and I don't know anybody there, I'm going to be really tentative about all kinds of things. But just having a few people that I can talk to find out, like, where do you get your cable? Where do you get, what bank do you go to? And those kinds of things, I think would really, and also referrals on realtors and other professionals. So I think it makes a lot of sense. That's great.
And I should just note, we're not going to attract the 70,000 people that we need to move to Maine through those events, but they're just one strategy. And that's something we partnered with a group, Maine Career Connect. So we partnered with Maine Career Connect on that event series. So it's just one talent attraction strategy. So we're always down for trying things.
Yeah, well, that's really what marketing is all about. I call it test and learn. You have to test things out, learn what works, learn what doesn't, and do more of what works and less of what doesn't. I mean, it sounds kind of basic, but I think that's what marketing is all about.
I'm laughing because I'm like, I wish I had some examples of some failed, like test and learn. I'm like, what were some things that we learned the hard way, but nothing's coming to mind, but I totally feel you on that.
I mean, I think sometimes you can learn more from failures than from successes. And, I think you do have to fail sometimes in order to move on. So it's all part of it, part of business. So how did you work with the state's Economic Recovery Committee?
The state, pre-COVID, put forth this 10-year plan that was focused on talent and innovation, and then COVID hit. And so obviously the state was definitely focused on how we really recover from the pandemic And so they sort of altered the plan and called it the Economic Recovery Committee. And the talent, infrastructure, and innovation are at the forefront. And we weren't part of a subcommittee. We weren't part of the subcommittee on talent, but we were invited multiple times to give our perspective, share our ideas. And we took that role very seriously and practically. And we gave some suggestions on what we thought should be implemented. And if you look at the plan or the recommendations, which is a public document, a lot of our recommendations are right in there. So we feel very fortunate that we were included in part of that process. And the state has an office of tourism attraction, but not of talent attraction. So we're one of the only groups that are really focused on talent attraction for Maine and not like a specific company. So we've recently been brought into a working group for how ideas can be implemented. So we're just really trying to be a good partner for the state as they think through the next steps for talent attraction and workforce development in Maine.
What is the Opportunity Tax Credit and how do you market it?
The Opportunity Tax Credit, it's administered by Maine Revenue Services. And essentially it is a way for folks who are living and working in Maine and have student loan payments to offset what they owe in income taxes by taking advantage of the credit. And so a handful of years ago when it first started, you had to have gone to undergrad in Maine, but as of 2016 onward, you could have gone to school anywhere in the United States for undergrad. And as long as you're in Maine, working in Maine, paying income tax in Maine, you could take advantage of the Opportunity Maine tax credit. So people can learn more at opportunitymaine.org. But it has also now been expanded to cover graduate students as well. So if you went to graduate school in Maine, you can also take advantage of the credit. So I have a friend who went to University of New England for the physician assistant program, and she now works in Skowhegan up in the ER. And she is able to take advantage of the credit, which, as you can imagine, for those physician assistant student loans, it makes a big difference. And it's one of the reasons why it was easy for them to stay in Maine. So it's definitely a financial perk. And as people are considering all of the different places to live after they graduate and where they could work, we just think this is one other reason why people could consider Maine and take advantage of the credit.
All right. That's good to know. So that website is opportunitymaine.org, right?
Correct.
That's great. And so employers can take advantage of that as well as employees.
Yes. Employers can take advantage of it. The state Maine Revenue Services has a whole section on FAQ for employers, but we have found that it's mostly just been easiest for individuals when they're filling out their taxes to fill out the tax form and take advantage of it themselves.
Nice. Katie, what is a book or an app that you have found helpful and why?
Okay, so I have a few thoughts. I've been trying to use a personal CRM because, as I'm sure, being a fellow extrovert, Nancy, we have so many people reaching out to us, chatting with us, wanting to have conversations. And I might talk to an entrepreneur who wants to grow their company in Maine. I might talk to somebody looking for a job here. So I'm trying to keep everybody organized. And I've been using Airtable, but I would, if anyone has suggestions on a personal CRM, I would be all ears. I've also been using Calendly, which, as you know, people can book appointments with you, but I always feel slightly annoying or overly important when I suggest that someone uses it. So although it is a helpful app, I feel a little weird about it. But in my 20s, I loved the book, The Defining Decade. I don't know if you've read that or heard that, but it was really practical advice for decision-making in your 20s as you think about your career, your personal decisions. So even if you're in your 30s, I feel like it's applicable too. And lastly, I love this book by Dr. Patty Fletcher called Disruptors: Success Stories from Women Who Break the Mold, because it's all about women really just stepping into their power and like she says, break the mold and disrupt the status quo. So I find that very inspirational as a woman leader. So I'll plug those two.
Well, I do have to commend you because I feel like you really have made a brand for yourself. You've made a name for yourself. And we didn't mention that you have been a TV host in the past year. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. So I was very fortunate. Erin O'Valley, who is the founder and creator behind Maine Life Media. She has a show, her inaugural show is Maine Life. She also this year launched a few other shows, I would say last year, she launched a few other shows, which one of them is Dock and Dine, and there's places and spaces. And so Dock and Dine is all about the different communities that might be on a body of water, could be a lake, could be a river, could be the ocean, and all different places that Maine has where you can dock and dine and explore downtown. And there are big employers in some of these industries in some of these areas that we were able to visit and interview. So I had a lot of fun doing that last year and learning all about the TV world. It was a whole new thing for me and a skill I was able to work on. So I was very, very fortunate in being able to capture some stories about why people love living and working in Maine. Because Live and Work in Maine is a partner and sponsor of that show. So that's how we were all connected.
Yeah. So will that go on? Will you do another season of Dock and Dine?
I hope so. We're working on it now. And you can find all of the past episodes at mainlifemedia.com and on YouTube, the Dock and Dine channel. But I hope to do it again. I would love to.
Oh, I didn't realize there's a Dock and Dine channel on YouTube.
Well, it is I think all of her stuff is on YouTube. So it might be like Maine Life Media, Maine Dock and Dine. Yeah.
All right, good. Well, Katie, this has been really great. What should people do if they want to follow up and get in touch with you? Where should they look for you online?
Sure. So I can be found on LinkedIn, of course, Katie Shorey. And then my email is Katie, Katie, at liveworkmaine.com. So happy to chat with anyone should they have questions or want to talk about living and working in Maine. I'm here for it.
That's great. Well, I think you're a great ambassador for our state. And I think you're right where you should be right now. And I love your enthusiasm. So congratulations. And thank you for spending some time with me and the members of PR Maven Nation.
I appreciate being asked on as a guest. Thanks for all you do. And I appreciate you highlighting the great work that I'm very fortunate that I'm able to do each and every day.
Have a great day, PR Maven Nation. That's it for this week's episode. I'd like to thank you for listening. And if you feel that you've gotten value out of today's conversation, consider leaving a 5-star review on iTunes or whatever app you're using to tune in. If you haven't subscribed yet, you should do so. I release a new episode each week, and subscribing will make sure you get an alert when there's a new episode. You can also join the PR Maven Nation by going to prmaven.com/nation and clicking join. It's free, and it's a great community of like-minded individuals who are all looking to learn and grow from one another. If you have an Alexa-enabled device, be sure to add the PR Maven Marketing Minute to your daily flash briefing menu. Thanks again for listening, and have a great rest of your week, PR Maven Nation.